Iowa State, Kansas State there in Dublin, Ireland to kick us off in the 2025 college football season, which means we're also 22 days away from Auburn versus Baylor and 23 days away from Alabama versus Florida State. So absolutely cannot wait for the kickoff of the season. And every time you get to hear from the coaches, it just makes it feel like it's even more real. And we are ever so close to the start of the official season. So let's get into what's going on, the latest in fall camp. We'll keep you up to date on everything, of course, here on JOX leading up to the start of the regular season. But we'll start on the plains of Auburn today, as that was where head coach Hugh Freeze was addressing the media yesterday. Spent a lot of time with the media, almost 30 minutes. I think it was like 26 minutes, something like that, that he was speaking with the media yesterday. So got to hear a lot from the coach of the Auburn Tigers. And so we'll just start off at the top. So this is Hugh Freeze after practice yesterday. A little disappointed in some of the effort that he saw from his Auburn Tigers yesterday on the practice field.
Had a really good day yesterday. Not as good today. Didn't think. Well, yesterday was an off day. The day before that was really good. You would think we would have, a little more energy. I would hope. I told him just a while ago. I mean, if you're only excellent when people are watching, it's really not excellence. It's just performing, and I don't know. I didn't think we had. There were spurts of practice that were really good, and then others that I thought we just kind of got through. So we've got to improve that and make sure that every rep, every day must be stacked in order to win these competitive close games that we're going to be in. And just kind of, I may feel different when I watch the film, but we did take care of the ball. But thought in the third and short period, defense really, they had great energy there, and really two guys really flashed, and that's Atkins and Dees. They really flash, man. When they decide to hit a gap, it's in a hurry. Obviously, the front had to play well for that to free them up also. But I don't know. I thought they really dominated that drill, and that's one where again you go back to some of the reasons we haven't had the success we've wanted. It's been some of those critical downs, like those 3rd and 1s, 3rd and 2s. And we've got to be excellent in those on offense and defense. Today, defense was really dang good in those. I think we had 8 reps of it, and we were probably 2 of 8, which is not going to be enough to win games. So we've got to go back and look at that. Obviously, we don't have everything in right now, but still, you've got to execute those and get those first downs. But also, it's really nice to see the defense not give those up.
Yeah, so that's a lot from Hugh Freeze there, and that was just kind of how he opened up his press conference yesterday. But I'll be honest, like I respect the honesty in a lot of ways, right? He's, didn't think the juice was there yesterday, or at least compared to a couple of days ago. Seems like maybe that was more on the offense than the defense a little bit, because the defense, as you heard there, kind of dominating some of the drills later on in practice for them yesterday. But hey, we can say what we want about him, but again, I respect he'll come out there and say, hey, this is something we worked on in practice today. We did a poor job of it, and this is, reflects why we haven't been winning football games. And so we need to figure out a way to get that fixed. Now, maybe that's not what you want to hear if you're an Auburn fan, that, we're still dealing with these same issues. But at the end of the day, I respect the transparency of him letting us know what's going on, what he's seeing, and what needs to continue to get better.
And I brought this up the other day that you are going to, especially nowadays with the whole, off day during camp, the expectation is that next day you have got to get that thing rolling because you've already been given the off day.
Yeah.
So that's why he's frustrated of, we gave
What did we give you a day off for?
Exactly. So it's, why did we give y'all a day off? Y'all can come out here the next day and be flat. Like it's mind-boggling. And to his point too, I agree with you. I love his honesty of saying we in these third down situations and we're still having the same mistakes. And at some point, like obviously the play calling, but then it goes back to the conversation he said about having his. I'm interested to see what quarterback was struggling during this period, because if the defense is winning, your quarterback's probably not walking off the field confident at the end of practice if the defense got him in some of these drills.
Well, and that's the priority, right?
That's what he told us. That's what he told us. Now, if you're DJ Durkin, you're like, I got some dogs over here now. Like, hey, now you see on third down, we may have gotten you today. So that's why I'm so looking forward to the scrimmages. So we'll know what everything looks like when the bullets are flying, because then it's play after play after play. It's not a simulated, we're going to do third and short, we're going to do third and medium, third and long. It's no, like all of a sudden it goes from 1st and 10 to 2nd and 9 to now we're looking at 3rd and 4. Now let's see what we really got, what we really have on the defensive side. But no, I commend Hugh Freeze for straight up saying, like, Monday was a better day.
Yeah.
It was a better day. And Wednesday, they lacked the juice. And for a team that has had the little success that they had last year, no matter what it says, your record was 5-7. Your record was 5-7. You would expect just a little bit more fire. But again, I can sense the frustration of, we gave y'all, like, NCAA gave y'all an off day. I can see where he would get frustrated of, you should be able on the Wednesday after an off day, turn this thing up and let's see what we got. Absolutely.
No, I think you're spot on with that. And I think we can all imagine where that would be incredibly frustrating. And you hit the nail on the head earlier in the week when we were talking about that, and it was, all right, that's cool if you're going to go about that, or when we were talking about the beginning of fall camp, but if you want to give them the day off, that's great, but you better not have these kinds of days where, you're lacking the energy, especially when you're coming right off of an off day. But who knows? Maybe DJ Durkin's just looking at this as an extended audition in spring or in fall camp. So that's what some people would say, at least.
Yeah, that's what
some people would say that. But let's hear from, you brought it up, Damien, the quarterback. What quarterback was it that was maybe struggling during some of these drills? Not sure. But Hugh Freeze did get asked about Jackson Arnold. And so this is Hugh Freeze talking about his new quarterback and kind of his development this fall and some of his decision-making that he's seen from Jackson Arnold.
Really pleased. Met with him yesterday and the quarterback coaches on again, it's sad but true, but I get to go in the rooms and only talk about the bad stuff, and that's just and I know they get it, but man, I get paid to try to fix the stuff we're not doing well, so that's usually the only time I have from go to room and say we have to get this fixed, and there's not a lot that he's a little greedy in the RPO game a bit. But I think we can get that corrected pretty simply, and I don't think he did that today. After yesterday's meeting, I don't remember a single one that he tried to force and make something happen. So I'm really pleased with his decision making. I think the ball is coming out quick, and I think he's using his legs when he doesn't feel comfortable with what he sees, and creating, again, everything's not team periods, but he's creating explosive plays when he does move out of the pocket. He's throwing really well on the run. So to this point, I'm really pleased with where he's at.
So there you go. There's Hugh Freeze on his new quarterback. Says he's pleased with a lot of the decision making. Been greedy at times in the RPO game, but it seems like that's improved even just over the last couple of days after sitting down and talking with Jackson Arnold about it. So does that give you anything you heard there, Damien? Does it give you any concern about the quarterback position for Auburn?
It's good to know he's not making the same mistake twice.
Yeah.
If the coach can have a meeting with you, discuss some of the things that, hey, don't want to do this, maybe you should have given this, maybe you should have, pulled this, having those conversations when it could be a little bit of a gray area and he doesn't go out there and doesn't make the same mistake, we can work with that.
Yeah, that's certainly a good thing to hear. And again, it's going to be a process, right? Especially with a guy like Jackson Arnold, right? Like he had issues last year that a lot of them were out of his control. But I mean, there are always ways that you can continue to develop and improve as a quarterback. within yourself. So it's good to hear, like Damian said, that he seems to be learning from his mistakes and not repeating those, because that certainly was a problem with the last guy at times. All right, now we'll hear another clip from Hugh Freeze. This is him. He was asked about what players he's seen make the biggest jump from the end of 2024 to right now heading into 2025.
Yeah, Malcolm and Perry jump off the page as much better route runners, understanding depth of routes, how your releases, how to shave routes against man, zone. I think both of them have improved themselves well there. Defensively, Amaris Williams is starting to kind of understand, last year he just used to being so athletic coming out of high school. He was just going to kind of, I think I want to rush outside this time, but no, you can't do that in this call. And so I would say he's starting to understand it and get it better also. Robert Woodyard is doing some good things also. Heck, I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody, and not talking about the new guys, obviously, just the ones we had. But Jay Crawford he had a solid year last year, but continues to flash it in one-on-ones at playing the ball and with good technique and not so handsy as he was last year. So there's been several of those guys that I think D. Wade's improved a lot, just moving him inside and letting him stay there too.
So there you go. There's 5 or 6 guys from Auburn that Hugh Freeze has been really impressed with their development. And you have 2 wide receivers in that group as well. So that just, again, goes to show you why we've kind of talked about, Cam Coleman and Eric Singleton are going to be great, but you got some dudes right behind them that absolutely would be in line, you would imagine, to start at a lot of other schools in the SEC. Were they not at Auburn this year? So a couple of other notes from fall camp there from Hugh Freeze yesterday. He did kind of briefly mention the whole recruiting thing, and because, again, remember, August 1st was the day that we were going to find out a lot about the house settlement and how real are a lot of these deals, where a lot of false promises made, and haven't really heard a whole lot about that. But Hugh Freeze, kind of doubled down on, hey, I'm confident that we're going to, we have the resources necessary to pull this thing together in recruiting, but he's still, I don't know, it just seems like a lot of this stuff isn't legit. And, okay, maybe it's not, but I'm sorry, you're still the only team that's operating this way, and nothing's come of it. So I will leave that up for other people to judge. But in my opinion, it feels like they missed on this one. It feels like they thought they were doing the right thing. Which, hey, I applaud them for thinking they were doing the right thing. But this is college football we're talking about. You can't be messing around, and especially with a program that's been stuck in the mud for over 5 years now. Feels like that was a big miss on their part. So we'll see if that continues to be the case or not. He also complimented Alex McPherson, said that he still, of course, has some complications from his illness that unfortunately he's been having to deal with, but he's still been out there on the practice field. He's been automatic when he has been out there, but still just trying to get his health in check and everything ready for the start of the season. But all things look to be good there with Alex McPherson right now. And the good news is that Jeremiah Cobb was cleared for contact, so he was actually out there really getting to practice for the first time this fall yesterday. So some good news there for the Auburn Tigers, as Hugh Freeze spoke with the media yesterday after fall camp. But we also had Tuscaloosa, where Alabama was holding their fall practice yesterday, and Kane Womack, the defensive coordinator for the Crimson Tide, he had some words for the media talking about the defense and some of the people that have impressed him and that you need to keep an eye on for the upcoming season. So we will dive into the Alabama side of fall practice, some news and notes there from Tuscaloosa next on JOX. Welcome back into the Thursday edition of Morning JOX. Conrad and Damian here with you until 7 o'clock when it'll be time for McElroy and Kublik in the morning. But bringing you the latest from fall camps for both Auburn and Alabama, as we try to do each and every day for you here on JOX. So we just heard from Hugh Freeze what's going on down on the plains. So let's get to a little bit of Alabama news down there in Tuscaloosa. As yesterday, you didn't get Kalen DeBoer, but you did get Kane Womack. So we got Ryan Grubb the other day. Now you got Kane Womack yesterday. So getting a little bit of the coordinators in there before the first scrimmage comes up on Saturday. But let's hear from Kane Womack. And this is, something that, look, if you watched Alabama football last year, I think it was immediately apparent that this was maybe the top priority for this defense coming into 2025. And that was last year, their inability to create sacks, right? They came in 15 out of 16 teams in the SEC in sacks. I think it was either Kentucky or no, it was Mississippi State. I think it was Mississippi State was the only school in the SEC that had less sacks than Alabama's defense last year. So Kane Womack asked about that yesterday and how this defense is trying to create more sacks against the quarterback this upcoming season.
That was one thing that, if you point to some of the areas that we had to improve upon from last year, being able to create negative plays in the backfield, being able to affect the quarterback, certainly from a standpoint of creating more sacks defensively. It was something that we needed to look at. So fundamentally, we tweaked some things, and schematically, just created some more variance in some of the things that we're doing in passing downs. I think we're in a good spot right now. I think, that's an ever-flowing, okay, what does this team do this week? How elusive is their quarterback? How do we want to contain him and also, force pressure and those things? And so, week to week, those things are going to change. But if you build a catalog of defense in the offseason, those are things you can kind of go to week to create variance in what you're doing.
Yeah, so that's absolutely going to have to be better for the Crimson Tide this upcoming season. And, last year, at least to me, and you can tell me if you don't agree with this, Damian, but it felt like, they did a good job a lot of times of getting pressure on the quarterback. It's just they couldn't finish a lot of those plays. And I think that was the frustrating part too, I'm sure for Kane Womack and that staff, but also for, the fans watching these games. You're going, all right, so we're breaking through the line of scrimmage, right? Like, we obviously know how to put pressure on the quarterback and get in the backfield. Why can we not tackle him, though? Why are we not able to bring him to the ground? And I think that's really where, when you look at, how can you create more sacks, it's going to be, guys like LT Overton were menaces last year. They just couldn't tackle. So you need to tackle this year.
Got to wrap up.
Yep.
Got to bring them down to the ground. Like, I agree with you 100%. Like, there were many times where, quarterbacks were getting flustered out the pocket, and a defensive tackle, defensive man would have their hands on them but couldn't bring them to the ground. Now it's all about technique, and, again, with all the rules of protecting the quarterback, you can't put all your body weight on him and things like that, but you still can rattle his cages by getting that much pressure, but now turning those pressures into sacks and truly getting hand on cloth and bringing them down. And I think that these guys, from what we've seen, the first couple of days, they're talking about, the defensive line. Yeah, they've chiseled out a lot more than they were last year. Like, they made it a point of, we're going to make sure we're going to be able to be in shape.
Yep. And
we can be as deep as we need to be. But, yes, as far as putting the quarterback into the dirt, yes, I do think that Kane Womack is itching at the bit to make sure that when we're applying this pressure, we're getting the quarterback down.
Absolutely. And so a lot of that's going to come off of the edge, of course, as we know. But how about the interior of that defensive line? Guys like Tim Keenan coming back for another year to help bolster that front. How can the defensive line, how are they coming along this fall? Maybe some areas that they still need to improve, some good, some bad. What is Kane Womack seeing from that group?
Obviously having TK back for another year is huge. Not just physically and who he is as a football player, but the accountability that he has in that room for a bunch of other younger players. I think he does a great job of holding that room accountable, of pushing the standard in that room. Beeman's a great example of a guy that grew up fast, where he was a year ago as a true freshman. At the beginning of the season to the role that he played for us in the bowl game and played it well, to where he was in the springtime to now. This dude has made great strides. He feels like a veteran player out there, even though he hasn't had some of the reps across the last season that maybe even Zabian Brown or another true freshman had. And so really proud of those guys. I think, Freddie and Jamie Mosley, those guys are doing a great job of really pushing that group from a physicality standpoint. These are the dog days of fall camp where you got to kind of push them through. The big guys, they got to be pushed. Right now they don't naturally want to run around the field for 60 snaps or whatever it may be, including individuals. So like the direction of that group, but certainly their maturity and development is going to be a huge indicator to our success.
Yeah, so there you have Kane Womack talking about the interior of the defensive line there for Alabama. And, of course, Tim Keenan coming back was massive for them. You got James Smith, a guy with a little bit of experience as an upperclassman now. But behind them, he mentions guys like Jeremiah Beeman, Edric Hill, some others. I mean, these are sophomore and freshmen and guys that, they're going to have to – some of these guys are going to have to play, right? You're going to have to be able to rotate these guys in and out. And so how quickly they can develop could be a big thing to watch for Alabama, at least defensively, this upcoming year. So we'll wrap up with Kane Womack with some high praise for a player on the Alabama defense. He says, this is a team of freaky athletes, but this guy right here, this is the freakiest athlete of them all.
I think Quay is on a team full of freaky people, Quay is the freakiest. You know what I mean? He is freaky athletic, and I think he's a special talent in terms of his strength. You watch him at the point of attack. When we started talking about violent hands, which is one of our Bama fundamentals that we continue to stress and harp on, Quay's ability to destroy blocks and get off and make plays. There was a play against Auburn. A guy came and, pulled against him. I mean, absolutely obliterated him at the point of attack. Those are things, right, that show up on tape in terms of his strength and physicality. But, ultimately, right, it's about knowing, what I like about Quay is like knowing when to and when not to, from a physical standpoint, be too aggressive. And I think he's learned a lot last year with the experience that he had. And I think he's what I would call, has turned himself into a controlled, aggressive player,
So some high praise there for Quay Russaw, looking like he's going to be in for a special season. I know expectations are very high for him, and everybody that's seen him in fall camp has just raved about this dude's going to be a problem for a lot of teams this upcoming season. So a lot of high praise there from the defensive coordinator for Quay Russaw. Says he's of all the freaks on Alabama's roster, he is certainly the freakiest of them all. So a couple of other notes. You've got the offensive line. So yesterday was their first full padded practice for Alabama. So a lot of people complimenting, as Damian mentioned, not only their conditioning and just the physical shape they're in, but just the size of getting to see these guys in pads for the first time. And especially the offensive line looking really, really good. Cam Dewberry, the transfer from A&M, who's competing for the left guard spot, looks really, really impressive. You had a couple of freshmen in Jackson Lloyd and Michael Carroll on the offensive line who have been very impressive so far in fall camp for some young guys. You have the same thing, very similar on the defensive side. Again, as we talked about, that was the first impression a lot of people had of Alabama fall camp was the defensive line and how well conditioned they were in terms of, these are some big dudes and they're out there moving around like they're linebackers almost. And so that's always something that you absolutely want to hear. Tight ends looking good with, Cuevas and Danny Lewis kind of leading the charge there. But, Marshall Pritchard, Caleb Edwards, some of the young guys continuing to be impressive there for the Tide. You have Latsier Brooks, who's a freshman wide receiver we heard a good bit about in the offseason. Guy really, really twitchy, really explosive. He's been banged up a little bit, so the boot is off. He hasn't had the boot on for a couple days, but still just doing conditioning work on the sides. He's not doing any contact drills or anything like that. At the Husky position, one of those spots there in the secondary that maybe has a little bit of a competition, you got Deshaun Jones and Dre Kirkpatrick Jr. They're leading the charge with that group, but you also have Cam Calhoun kind of there as the third piece. So still trying to figure out exactly what that rotation is going to look like for Alabama. But yesterday was also the last time, apparently, that the media will be able to watch Alabama practice until August the 19th. So it'll be a little bit before we get kind of those hands-on impressions. But, of course, you'll always have things that come out about the scrimmage coming up on Saturday. So that's what's going on in both Auburn and Alabama as you had fall camp going on for them. Got to hear from Hugh Freeze and got to hear from Kane Womack as well. So some of you chiming in with some questions on fall camp. We'll get to all of that. And how about the most important players in college football for this upcoming season? A lot of them are quarterbacks, but we'll tell you who some of the most important players in the SEC are for the upcoming season. That's coming up next here on JOX. $6:34. Welcome back into Morning JOX here. Conrad and Damian with you. Bringing you the latest from fall camps for both Alabama and Auburn, as you got to hear from Hugh Freeze and Kane Womack, as they had some comments from the media after practices yesterday. Again, if you've missed it, Auburn going to have their first scrimmage coming up tomorrow. Alabama having their first scrimmage on Saturday. So we are getting ever so close to the start of the college football season. And we do have some of the most important players in college football for the upcoming season that we would like to discuss. But first, let's go to Melvin. He's been waiting patiently on the phone lines. He wants to talk a little Auburn this morning. How we doing, Melvin?
Hey, how you doing, Comrade Damian? It's been a while, man, since I got a chance to call in and ask you guys some questions. But I just want to know, like, do y'all, like, the other man that it's like Hugh Freeze is like in a no-win type of situation? I mean, I know if he wins, then of course they gonna keep him, but it's almost like it's a story every day about him getting fired or what he got to do, or he gonna get fired. I mean, by all the analysts, all the the sports writers out, it's like a story every day. Do y'all gather that, or is that just me as an Auburn fan that gets that, or is it just a lot of talk from even the Auburn fans? I mean, it's just every day.
I look at it like this, Melvin, and it's warranted a discussion. So, as an Auburn fan, like, what are your expectations for the team?
My expectations for this team with the talent that we have accumulated through transfer portal and through recruiting, I don't think we should do less than an 8-4 this year. I mean, does that sound feasible?
And
absolutely, yeah.
Right, and that's the thing. If you don't get 8 wins and you still find yourself in that 6 to 7 win category, how much time do you really have to give a coach in order for it to go from 7 to 8 to 9 wins? And if they haven't shown you, or I'm not even going to say, because he's done a great job in recruiting, but on the field, if the product is still looking average to just barely above average, at some point, when do you think that, you have to pull the plug?
I mean, of course, that's not my decision, but to like, I guess, push back on what you said, Damian, you gotta admit, man, a lot of times the ball just did not bounce our way last year. I mean, whether that came down to a field goal, interceptions, not scoring in the red zone, what have you. That's just how I saw it, and
that's just bad situational football in a lot of cases, though. And I think that's where a lot of that in people's mind goes back on the head coach, because if he's better in those situations, yeah, you probably, instead of winning 5 games last year, maybe you win 7 games last year, or even 8.
But I mean, I guess my frustration comes from, I'm an Auburn fan, and it's like I never hear our fans get behind our coach. I never hear that. It's always, fire. I mean, that's just, we really don't need to fire a coach, not for real, in my opinion. But I mean, take for instance, last year against Arkansas, Damari Austin is running for a touchdown. He is like 2 yards from the end zone and fumbling the ball.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But that's the thing, though. You can't cut players.
Okay, but
you can't cut players.
You done played the game. You done played the game. You've played the game.
Okay, so do you want Jeremiah Cobb?
How does that come back on coaching?
So do you want Damari Austin run? Do you want Damari Austin running the ball? Do you want Damari Austin running the football then?
I mean, Jacquez Hunter was the running back last year.
He can't play. He can't play 70 snaps, and they already weren't giving him the ball anyway.
Who do you blame for the Oklahoma game, Melvin?
When Peyton threw that interception to that linebacker, he ran it, 70 yards?
Okay, why are they calling passing plays in that situation when you're winning a football game in the final minutes and you have Jarquez Hunter in the backfield?
I agree with you on that. I'm just saying it just seems as though it's almost seemed like a no-win type of situation to me.
Well,
that's how it just comes across. That's how it comes across.
So tell me if you agree with this,
like,
Melvin, because I think this is part of the thing with Hugh Freeze, is I think there are, I don't know what percentage of the Auburn fan base, but I think maybe a pretty good percentage of the Auburn fan base was never going to like Hugh Freeze because they don't think he's a good person. And I think that kind of put you behind the 8-ball in the fan base. And I think there's a lot of people that would never like Hugh Freeze, even if he wins, because they have a preconceived notion that he's not maybe the best human being.
I never thought about that. I got to admit, I never looked at his past or whatever, happened with him at Ole Miss or whatever happened with, him and his wife, whatever, his personal life or whatever. I never looked at it like that.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that that's fair. I just think that's the reality.
I'm with you. I just thought he had a mess to clean up down there, and it's almost like people just like, Brian Harsin. He stated that, he didn't think that was his job to recruit. It was up to his assistant.
Oh, I mean, the program right now, I think, is in a much better spot than it was under Brian Harsin. I mean, Brian Harsin is, one of the worst SEC coaches of the last 25 years. He absolutely Hugh Freeze inherited a mess, and I think he's actually done a lot of things very well down there. It's just, again, it's hard, man, when you go into, especially, let's be honest, like, you're in the South, you're in the Bible Belt, and you have a coach that has a controversial past that comes in, like, that's going to be a hard sell for a lot of people and for people to rally behind a guy like that.
Well, my last point is that, I think the people that pump money into the program, a lot of them did want Hugh Freeze.
Yeah.
Now, fan-wise, I guess it does, fall back on, hey, what's your things about integrity and stuff like that. But I guess just me as an Auburn fan, it just seemed like I'm so ready for the season to start because I'm ready for him I really wanted him to shut him up. That's where I'm at with it.
Winning fixes everything just about.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to hold y'all any longer, man. I appreciate y'all taking my call.
Absolutely,
we
Melvin.
appreciate you, brother.
Great call, man. Appreciate the conversation there. I don't know. I mean, do you agree with what – I mean, because there are just certain situations with – there are people that will straight up never like Hugh Freeze. He could win a national championship at Auburn, and they would still not like him because they don't think that that's morally that he is up to the expectations or the standard of what they have.
Yeah, and to your point, it may not be fair, but I believe it's factual. And also, you have to – that's why I asked Melvin about, like, his expectations as an Auburn fan. It's – he's fine with 8-4, which I get, which seems extremely realistic. But also you have to have the conversation of perception versus actual reality.
Yeah.
You haven't won more than 9 games since 2019. He's not doing as bad as he's kind of par for the course, no pun intended. Like, it's kind of what you expect. But
I would also say, I mean, seriously, I think the program right now, the program is in the best position that it's been in since 2019.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why I say, like, the perception is he's doing everything right, but on the field, we're still getting the same results.
Yeah.
That's where the frustration is. It's like, man, we're recruiting at a high level, but yet on Saturdays,
it's not making a difference.
Exactly. So I kind of agree with Melvin in a little bit. It's kind of a no-win situation. It's like, I got to win the national championship. And it's like, well, I'm actually doing a lot better than the person that was here before me.
Yeah, and I can imagine as a fan of, you want to get excited for a season, you want to rally behind your coach, and it feels like everybody else that you're all supposed to be a unified group as a fan base, and maybe you don't feel that way. You feel like a lot of people are honestly maybe even rooting for him to fail so that they will get rid of him. It's tough. It's been it was a mess down there. I mean, he even brought it up right after the Brian Harsin, attempt, after we saw what that experiment looked like. That was a bad bad situation for a coach to walk into. And I think Hugh Freeze has done a lot of things well, particularly on the recruiting front and through the transfer portal, but it's got to translate to wins on the field, and it has to do that this year. Otherwise, we probably will be talking about Auburn going in a different direction heading into the 2026 season. So appreciate all y'all chiming in. We have a bunch of texts coming in, some of you on the phone lines as well. We want to give you your opportunity to respond. What are your thoughts on Auburn? Do you agree with Melvin, disagree with Melvin? What are your thoughts on Hugh Freeze and the future of the Auburn program? We hear from you next on Morning JOX.
$6:50 here on Morning JOX. Damian Mitchell alongside Conrad Van Order. And, of course, you are wonderful listeners. We appreciate y'all. And so much that we want you to help us celebrate the kickoff to college football at the Bill Smith Buick GMC JOX kickoff party at Regents Field on Thursday, August 21st. And the only way to go is by winning tickets. To win a pair of tickets for you and a guest, text the keyword Bulldogs and your full name to 205-834-9450. Again, the keyword is Bulldogs, along with your full name to 205-834-9450. Winners are drawn and notified daily. For more information, visit joxfm.com.
And we can't wait to see you out there 2 weeks from today. That'll be the kickoff party, so getting very, very close to that. And we have just so many texts, so many calls that are coming in right now, just talking about Auburn football and kind of reacting to Melvin's call that we had last segment. And we'll go and tell you the good news is we will be here with you for a little bit longer. So we are going to we will be here to kick off McElroy and Kublik in the morning with you guys this morning. So if we don't get to your text, we don't get to your calls, hang on, because we will be able to get to you in the 7 o'clock hour as well. But let's go to Big Mac on the phone line real quick. He's been waiting patiently to talk some Auburn football. How are we doing this morning, man?
Good morning. Good morning. I feel like a holiday. I don't know why. But
how you doing, man? You want to talk some Auburn?
His kids going to school. Yeah, that's what it is.
Oh, yeah. I was about to say, today's the big day. I know a lot of people taking their kids to school for the first time this year, and a lot of parents probably happy. Get a little time. Yeah, a little breathing room.
But no, I had to call and mess with Damian because last year around this time, he got my hopes up saying Auburn was going to go 11-2. That's what you said, Damian?
Absolutely not.
Damian.
Absolutely not.
Hey, that's the last time I called in.
And I said Auburn's going 11-2.
Said they was going to lose 2 games.
Hey, bro, you got to wake up because ain't no way I said that with Peyton Thorne at quarterback. I know I ain't say no foolishness like that.
Okay. So, I got my hopes up. I started thinking about taking my talents to Tuscaloosa. I don't know. What you think this year? That's why I'm calling.
Realistically, I'm thinking somewhere between 8 and 9.
Okay. All right.
That sounds about. What about you, Big Mac? What are your where are you at with Auburn this year?
Oh man, I haven't been watching the SEC as closely as usual this year. I'm gonna go with a strong 8.
Okay.
As long as we win some tough games and give the crowd something to cheer about, I think Hugh Freeze will be fine.
Yeah, no, I think you're onto something there. Appreciate you calling in this morning, man. Especially if one of those 8 wins is Alabama or Georgia, I think you'll have a lot of people that are confident. And look, I think if you win 8 games this year, you should be happy as an Auburn fan.
Yeah,
that's a significant improvement. It shows you're headed in the right direction. And if you're 8-4, and this is just in my opinion, that probably means that Jackson Arnold was good but not great, and you have a guy behind him who, based on all indications of everything we've heard since he's stepped on campus, Deuce Knight is the real deal. So just saying, you get to 8 wins, you have that waiting in the wings, you probably feel pretty good about things in the direction that they are headed in there. Let's go to Hastings this morning. He's been waiting patiently, wants to chime in on the Auburn Tigers. How we doing, Hastings?
Yeah, hey, guys. I'm so sick and tired of this Brian Harsin talk, man. Okay, look, first off, you guys are the ones who created the coup to get him out of there, which his first year finished in the top 25 of recruiting, and then in the second year when y'all made up a ruse about him having an affair with one of his student assistants and then wonder, well, why is he not recruiting? Dude was fired before he ever stepped on the field his second year, and then y'all want to sit there and whine, well, it was Brian Harsin. No, it was your own fault.
You know, Deion Sanders came in and turned Colorado around in 2 years, and y'all are sitting there with more resources than Colorado's ever sniffed, and yet y'all can't pull together a team that can win. That's not a talent problem. Last year, y'all had a talented roster. That wasn't a talent problem. It was a coaching problem. It's a Hugh Freeze problem. Look, I'm not saying that I hate the guy. I'm not saying that I hope he's not successful. But when you're known for offense and you literally have the worst quarterback that you put on the field and yet you back him up and that's who you want to ride with and your offense doesn't do anything for the entirety of the season, that's a Hugh Freeze problem. Dick Saban before the transfer portal, 2 years. Lane Kiffin, 2 years. These guys are turning around programs in 2 years, and Hugh Freeze at the Regions Classic sounds like he wants another 5 because he feels sorry for himself because some kid wants to text in and say, hey, I wish that I could be here for these other guys. Hell, you'll be getting texts from freshmen saying the same thing in 4 years if he's still the coach. All right? So I don't want to sit here and bash the dude. The dude is doing a good job, but you got to score some points. If you're 7-5, but you're putting up 40 points a game as an offensive coach, heck yeah, you're doing good. But if you keep this dredge of society offense and you can't get it together, then you're out of there. I hope they do good, sure. But in the meantime, stop blaming Harsin, blame yourselves, and blame Hugh. Thanks, guys.
Woo!
Say it with your chest, dog.
Thank you, Hastings. Appreciate you chiming in this morning. Some very passionate comments there from an Alabama fan, worth noting. But we appreciate Hastings calling in, as well as Melvin and Big Mac and the rest of you. So hang on. I know a lot of you chiming in on the text line. We will be back for the start of McElroy and Kubelik in the morning. We'll continue this discussion on Auburn expectations and Hugh Freeze next on McElroy and Kubelik in the morning.